The Metis Tech Show.
Welcome to the Metis Tech Show, a show for HVAC professionals by HVAC professionals.
I like how you guys bounce back and forth between heat pump talk and food talk.
The Metis Tech Show.
Mitsubishi.
All right, so tell me about this Giacomo's.
Giacomo's. Giacomo, if you ever go to New Orleans, it's a place that is so unique. It's a restaurant that's in an old house. And it's very unique food. For instance, very New Orleans-y, but on the appetizer menu is one thing that's amazing. It's called alligator cheesecake.
It sounds delicious.
It's a quiche that has alligator sausage in it, and I'm probably underestimating, but about 1,200 calories a bite. That's what I can describe it as.
In case you couldn't tell, I'm really not concerned with
You're
calories.
not concerned about, right, exactly, and who is? When it tastes good, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing that's amazing, and I don't know how they do this, but in New Orleans, very big are these, roast beef po' boys.
Yes, po' boys.
You want it dressed. What does that mean? Everything on it. Tomato, lettuce, the whole thing. You want it sloppy? What does that mean? They just pour brown gravy all over it, okay? Now, Giacomo's has perfected some way to take a mini roast beef po' boy with the gravy and deep fry it.
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
That sounds like a heart attack, but I'm willing to try it. And a po' boy, for those who've never been to Louisiana, a po' boy could be called a sub or a hero in different parts of the country.
Oh, you're going to lose your life in New Orleans if you say,
No.
I want a sub, please.
No,
Or
you
I
don't.
want
It's a po' boy.
It's a po' boy, and it's on special bread. You can't buy anywhere else.
No, I was in New Orleans, and when I was in the National Guard, well, I went to Mississippi for 6 months, and I went to New Orleans, and I go, "What's a po' boy?" And she goes, "Where you from, down?" And I go, "Boston." She goes, "It's a sub." Y'all call it a sub. It's a po' boy. But
And we were just in New Orleans for the national sales meeting. We've talked about it
we're
in
talking
past podcasts.
the beignets.
But, Glenn Bro, who was just on one of the episodes, he's from,
Yeah,
has family from.
He's from Louisiana. He's a Cajun guy. The name Bro is a Cajun. And are you Cajun? They're considered Cajun, or
Well, I can talk the talk,
yeah, they do that. But you're from Louisiana, but now you're in the Pacific
Louisiana.
Northwest.
I live in about 45 miles south of Seattle in a little place called Gig Harbor.
Gig Harbor.
Gig Harbor.
I love
It's a
the
little
names.
fishing village settled by Croatians back in the late 1800s.
Wow, that's good.
We still have Blessing of the Fleet, every summer. It's pretty awesome.
Now, is the Seattle area known for anything food-wise other than coffee?
I can cook my own Louisiana food. I don't have.
So yeah,
I'm not missing it because I cook it myself. But in Seattle, what's it known for food other than coffee? Salmon.
Oh, salmon's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like before I moved to the Northwest, I thought salmon was just a salmon. I didn't know there were so many different kinds.
yeah, sockeye.
Sockeye, king, coho,
Yeah.
silver, chum.
Yeah.
I didn't know these things existed, right? If we were in Louisiana, oh, look, salmon's good for you. Well, that was like farm-raised salmon from Norway, and it's horrible.
It's a dull pink color, but when you get
Only
the
after
fresh,
they spray paint it.
yeah, when you get the wild-caught salmon, it's just bright red. The flavor is different.
The flavor is amazing. And my favorite is, of course, king salmon. They're the biggest. They grow the biggest, but they also are sweet tasting.
No, I love salmon. I didn't used to like salmon, but I don't mind it.
On a cedar plank on the grill with that smoky flavor.
Yes,
Yeah. I just recently started eating salmon.
it's good for
Never
us.
had it
great
before.
food.
It is. It's really good.
Yeah,
But Glenn Bro talks about a dish all the time.
there he is right there. There's Glenn Bro walking by.
Yeah, he talks about a dish all the time. Touffee.
Touffee.
Etouffee.
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 Yeah, okay.
If you go to New Orleans, if you go down to the French Quarter, there's a restaurant called the Gumbo Shop.
Yes.
And you can get a trifecta. You can get etouffee, Creole, and jambalaya all on the same plate.
Yep.
And your heart attack, as soon
Yeah.
as you walk out the door, you'll probably fall down.
Why can't that stuff be healthy?
Yeah.
I mean, just
No,
why?
no, because it's
the point
good.
of it being
Yeah, because it
healthy.
tastes good.
Yeah.
Because it tastes really good.
Yeah.
We got Glenn walking by
Yeah,
right
Glenn's
now.
walking
so-
by and interjecting. It's all about the roux.
He heard
The roux. How do you spell roux?
yeah.
ROUX.
Oh, I agree. Put the X on it. Yes.
Yeah, there's a garage down the street from my house. I happen to know the guy, Paul Rue, and it's Rue's Garage. But on purpose, I told my wife, call Rux's and get your car fixed. He's honest, so we trust him. So anyway, welcome everybody to the Metis Tech Show. We are once again, I don't know how many episodes this is, but we're once again at the 2025 DSG conference in Round Rock, Texas, which is just outside of Austin. Joining us today is Rick Cummins from Gensco. Rick, say hi.
Hi, guys.
Right. Steve is also here. Steve, you want to say hi? Yeah. So, Rick, tell us a little bit about your role at Gensco, what you do, how you got there, a little bit about your background. So we started off with, you're from Louisiana. So what the heck made you move to the Pacific Northwest to Seattle?
Boston Red Sox.
Really? You're a Red Sox fan?
Dude, if it wasn't for the Boston Red Sox, I wouldn't have my son.
Get out, really? Oh, I don't think we need to. I don't think we can go. This is a family show.
No, but it was because of the Boston Reds. Well, it's not why I moved to Seattle, but because you're from Boston, I think everybody should hear this story. Because
Let's go.
I love my son. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. Last 18 years, he just graduated high school. But being in Louisiana, we don't have a baseball team, right? So I'm always following players and this kind of stuff. I didn't really have a favorite team. Like Nolan Ryan was my hero. So anywhere he went, I was following that team. Mike Schmidt with the Phillies.
Yes.
I was a Phillies fan for a while. And at one time, I was even a Yankees fan.
Well, that's
don't hit.
Show's over.
Don't hit me.
Thank you, everyone.
So we get to 2005. And every Labor Day, my wife and I would plan to go somewhere to get away from the heat. Because I don't know if you've ever been to Louisiana in the summer, but it's like
it's wicked hot.
It's bad.
It's not just the heat; it's the humidity. It's like 1,010% humidity. It's awful.
So we're deciding where we're going to go, and she said, "You've never been to Chicago. Let's go to Chicago." And I said, "Well, I'm a baseball guy, so we gotta. If wherever we're going, I got to see a game.
Yeah.
So I want to see the Cubs, not the White Sox.
Yes."
Cubs were out of town. She said, okay, what about New York? And I said, well, I want to see the Yankees, not the Mets. The Yankees were out of town. Yeah. So it came down to going to Washington, D.C. and maybe seeing a Baltimore game. Or I said, well, I'm a big history buff and I love like Revolution stories. And
there you go.
Why don't we go to maybe Boston? Because I looked and the Red Sox are in town that weekend. So I bought 2 tickets to a Red Sox game, 12 rows behind the third base dugout.
Nice.
And 4 days before we were going to fly out, Hurricane Katrina hit. At the time, I'm sitting at my brother's house because I looked at the weather thing, and it's like right at the mouth of the river. It's 180-mile-an-hour winds, and I'm the only 2-story house in a block of my house. I'm like, well, I'm going to lose the top level of my house, so I'm getting out of here. But I get back in my house. It's okay. I had a little bit of wind damage, tiles blown off kind of thing, no flooding. And I'm sitting there, no electricity. I lived in my house for 7 weeks with no electricity.
Wow. In the summer.
In the summer.
Wow.
My wife would not come back until the air conditioning came on. She stayed at my brother's house with my brother and sister-in-law. But so I'm sitting there, and like 2 weeks after the storm, I get a call. And this was a weird thing about what happened to the infrastructure. Like I could make a long-distance call or get a long-distance call, but I couldn't call my neighbor next door.
Wow.
So I get a call, and I look at the caller ID, and it's Minnesota. It's my sister. She lives outside of Minneapolis. So I pick it up, and we're talking about things that are going on. She says, what's the worst thing you're dealing with here? And I said, I can take the heat, the mosquitoes, and, I'm eating MREs every day I'm getting from the National Guard. I said, but the thing that really gets me is I spent $500 on 2 Red Sox tickets, and we didn't go. Dude, 2 days later, my phone rang again, and I looked, and it was Boston. I pick it up. It's a guy named Zach Scott, Assistant Vice President for Baseball Operations of the Boston Red Sox.
Wow.
And he says, I just got off the phone with your sister, and we're sympathetic to your situation. So if you ever decide you want to visit Boston somewhere in the future, call me. We'll get you tickets. I said, we already decided we're going to come next spring for Easter. And he said, okay, call me in February. The schedule's set, and we'll see what we can do. So I call him, I leave a message on his phone. He calls me back about an hour later, and he says, okay, do you still have your tickets that you bought? And I said, yeah, I'm going to save them forever, like stuck on the side of my refrigerator. And he says, well, tell me what seats you had. So I tell him, and he says, I don't know if we can get you seats that good, but we're going to get you tickets. When do you want to go? And I said, well, we're coming for Easter. I said, so I want tickets on Friday, April 14. It's my birthday. He said, okay, there'll be 2 tickets in VIP will call for that Friday.
Where were the seats?
Dude. First, we couldn't understand where they were, so we ended up in the wrong seats, and somebody showed up like in the first inning and says, hey, you're in our seats. So an usher comes over, and he says, well, let me see your tickets, and I handed them to him, and he says, oh, follow me.
400
We start walking back towards home plate, and then down towards the field, and we're 8 rows from the on-deck circle.
Wow.
I know. The Boston did that for me,
Yeah.
right? How can I not love the Boston Red Sox?
First of all, everybody should love the Boston Red Sox and hate the Yankees.
Right. So I go back to my, I have this amazing son who's now studying mechanical engineering, his first year in college. And during that trip, we had been trying to have a baby for 2 years. And my wife had suffered a miscarriage the year before. Well, on that trip, we got pregnant with my son.
Wow. See what the Red Sox can do for you?
They're amazing, dude.
Yeah.
So I wrote him a nice letter back. I thanked him. I said, I'll now be a member of the Red Sox Nation for the rest of my life.
Excellent.
Wow. That is a great story.
That is a great story. So from there, how did you get to Seattle?
So that same year after, so this is the year after Katrina, 2006, I was self-employed, I had my own company. And I'm sitting at my desk doing a proposal for someone. And I heard my AC unit kick on. And I looked at my little weather station on the side of the wall next to my desk, and it said 88 degrees, 96% humidity, and it was midnight.
Yikes.
So I get up the next morning, and again, I'm looking for, hey, where can we go on Labor Day, right? And I'm turning through the weather page. I'm like, where is it not hot? Because, God, it's hot. And I see a 68-degree mark in August. I'm like, who the hell is 68 in August? And it said Seattle.
Nice.
And I told my wife, I'm moving to Seattle. You want to come?
All right. And you work for Gensco, and you're obviously you're a DSG.
There. So I ended up working several mechanical contractors, but the company I worked for before I came to Gensco, we had a technical relationship with a distributor called Washington Air Reps, and they repped a lot of different equipment. And I was doing a lot of startups for them on equipment like Arctic Chill chillers and Mammoth rooftop units. And the guy who was selling Daikin DRB said, hey, I need somebody to do the startups because I'm doing them. And, I can't sell if I'm doing the startups. And I said, well, I'll be happy to do it. So they sent me to California for 2 weeks, got all the training necessary. And I became like the factory guy for Daikin DRB in the state of Washington. And about 2 years into this relationship, Jonathan leaves and goes to work for Mitsubishi as a regional sales manager on the commercial side. And he calls me one day and says, hey, I don't know if you're interested, but Gensco's looking for someone to do what you do. I didn't know about the DSG program at the time, and I dealt a little bit with Mitsubishi City Multi stuff. But my last company, we installed a bunch of it. But so he says, yeah, they're looking for someone to do what you want to do. I said, okay, I'm willing to talk to anyone. Like 2 months goes by, he calls me again. He says, hey, did you ever call them? And I said, I thought they were going to call me. He said, no, they can't call you because you work for one of their dealers, and they have this rule where they're not going to steal their techs away from their dealers. I said, okay, I'll call them. So I called them. I set up an appointment. I interviewed with the technical services director, but I was kind of outside his salary budget range. But 2 weeks later, I got a call from the regional sales manager. He says, I got something you might be interested in. It was this, the DSG thing. And it went from there. So I ended up at Gensco, thanks to the now Mitsubishi commercial sales manager out in Oregon, who at our dealer meeting 2 weeks ago told me it's because of me he ended up at Mitsubishi.
And who was that again?
Jonathan Zumwalt.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so Jonathan, great guy. So I said, what? I've been telling everybody how you got me here. And he says, no, it's because of you. I'm now at Mitsubishi because Air Reps came in and told me, well, you're not doing the startups anymore. And he's doing such a great job. We're cutting your salary. And he says, well, no, you're not, under his breath. And he ended up taking a Mitsubishi.
See, things always work out for the best.
That's crazy how all of this just kind of.
Right?
Yeah. So now you're in DSG with Gensco. So tell us a little bit about Gensco. What is, because your territory, I think, is pretty big, isn't it?
We have 27 branches now in 5 states.
5 states, and that includes
Montana, Idaho, Washington, and Alaska.
You do the Dakotas?
Well, my partner, Chris, he goes into maybe some of the Dakotas, not far, and northern Wyoming, and maybe northern Utah every now and then.
I think Wyoming has more cows than people.
Well, he's from Wyoming, so I think he likes going back.
Yeah, well, you know what? I've been all over the country, but it's those Pacific Northwest states I've never been to. The Dakotas, Montanas, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. I gotta find a reason to get out there. I've not been. Wyoming, you know, my old boss used to be a rancher from Wyoming. He still owes me a box of Wyoming beef. He was going to send me, you know, vacuum pack. Never did, but he probably doesn't listen. Cause
the only thing about out there, everything's it's a long way to anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not like in the East where everything's compact and you can get to this city in an hour or this one in an hour and a half. Dude, it takes me 2 hours to drive 40 miles in Seattle because the traffic's...
My old boss that I'm talking about where I used to work, he moved from Wyoming to Hartford, Connecticut. And he said in Wyoming, there was like 0.12 people per square mile.
Yeah.
And he moved to Hartford, Connecticut, and there's like 700 people per square mile, something crazy. So he wasn't used to all the people. But anyway, so you're a DSG, and one of your duties is to assist the contractors when they have issues.
So I don't work for the technical services department of Gensco. I work for sales.
Sales,
and I support all our sales reps. Anything they need to help sell the product. Extra training for their contractors, some on-site visits, or just a job walk on a commercial job before they get started. It's so important to lay the foundation of how to do a good install. And one of the things that helps me in that respect is several years before I came to Gensco, I got a green belt certification in Lean and Six Sigma process improvement. So one of the things I do in my training is try to teach them what I call the one-touch installation method. You're going to hang a piece of equipment, but you also have to set some dip switches. You got to figure out what those are going to be before you start. You have to address the unit. And if you know what port you're going to, you could set that. So you could touch and do everything you need to do while you're hanging the unit. You don't have to keep coming back 15 times, right?
And that's efficiency. That's being lean.
Efficiency. And it all starts with having a plan. You develop a plan, and then you just work the plan. Yep. You plan the work the plan. And everything, it goes really well. So if contractors get me involved in that stage up front, those jobs are clean and done. The startup is 3 hours, and I'm out of there.
And is that plan the DSB?
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. Because I've said this before several times, but if you show up on a job to install VRF equipment and you don't have a DSB, don't start the install.
Don't have a plan, you're in trouble.
Don't start the install without that DSB, without that plan. Yeah. And that is huge because you should know if that plan is set up properly. To your point, when you hang a unit, when you take it out of the box, you should be able to do everything to it. The addressing, the port assignment, and then you hang it, and then it's just running the pipes and electrical to it later.
And employ what we call in the lean world visual aids. So one of the things, I have this in my training room, I have one unit, and when I get to this point, I tell them, look at that unit. I've got visual aids marked on it, just some green painter's tape, but I wrote the unit number, I wrote the address, I wrote how many feet the piping runs, right? I wrote what port it goes to. So just walking across the room, you can look at that unit and tell everything about that unit. You could take what you can see right there and put it in the DSB as your as-built.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to bring up. Now when you're doing the as-built, the hard work is done. Because when you're doing the as-built, the hardest part of doing the as-built is gathering the information. But now you write that right on the indoor unit. And I've seen contractors that make the stickers. They'll put it on the BC controller. They'll tell you what port it goes to, how many feet of pipe, the address.
Yep.
And which indoor unit
when they do
goes
it
to,
clean and you got all those custom card stickers, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is great.
But having some visual aids as you go along, and one of the big ones, and I try to get this to them, is like an ME thermostat. When they come out of the box, they have shrink wrap plastic on them, right? I said, okay, you're going to set the address to this thermostat to 12. After you set the address, you take your Sharpie and you write a big 12 on that plastic because it's going to peel off later. But when you're walking through the building and you're like, I got a problem and I got to go find thermostat address 12, you don't have to pull 18 covers off looking for it because there it is right there.
That's a great idea.
It's an awesome idea.
I love it. Yeah,
it's in my old friend Jay, who passed away, Jay Harkey, he used to say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So this is all about that
true,
plan.
dude.
That's where it begins. It begins with a solid plan. Yes. And I never would have thought of that.
Why not?
That either. The plastic, with a Sharpie writing the address on there.
Visual aids.
Because you know what I do? If I'm putting, what's the first thing I do when I mount it? I take the plastic off.
Right. Why?
Well, I don't know why.
Protecting it until it's finished.
Yes.
It's finished. The last thing you do.
This is why you're here, to teach us.
right.
I could teach you a few tricks, dude.
Yeah, I always leave those those little shipping plastics on there, and it drives people crazy. Like Ed Blair showed up at the Boston office and seen one on my Dell monitor, and he's like going up to it and trying to go to peel it. I'm like, don't touch that. I said, that's driving you nuts, isn't it? He's like, oh yeah, it's really.
It drives me nuts too. But if there's a reason for it, I had this young kid, Derek, who used to work with me. He was an apprentice, and we were putting in a thermostat, and I forget, the covers pop off, and you'd put something on the back of the cover where no one can see it. And I think I just put the air handler number on there, just write it on there. I told him to write it on there. Well, he took a Sharpie, and he wrote it right on the face of the thermostat in the room. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? He goes, you told me to write it on there. He goes, in the conspicuous place behind the thermostat. It comes off the wall, so we can tell when we're servicing it. Not so the customers, you just ruined it.
That's not coming off. Right. Maybe some PVC cleaner, take it off. But
oh, yeah, melts the plastic.
Yeah, some, what is that? Goop remover that also melts all the plastic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You gotta be careful what you use. But this is great information, I think, for the installer. I'm always preaching in class about having a DSB, about, like Paul said, addressing the equipment on the ground much easier than doing it up above a dark ceiling somewhere later on.
Right.
So all of that helps. I've seen jobs where nothing was marked. There is no DSB. There is nothing to trace back on this for pipe lengths, nothing. And then I've seen jobs where they went just above and beyond, and they used a label maker, and they labeled each port on the branch controller, how many feet of pipe, what address, what port, all of the information for that unit on each port. It's like, wow. And that's going to help the next guy coming to service the equipment. That's going to help the installers. So that's great advice.
Several contractors that have taken all this advice to heart, and especially the BCs, they have big stickers printed. They can stick on the BC and then label where all the ports, unit number, address, all that stuff can go right on the BC. Another contractor, I told him, I said, you really need to also have a map of your MNet wiring.
Yes.
You need to know where it goes in case you have a problem in the wiring. And the way to solve any kind of issue is what? Troubleshooting.
Process of elimination.
Cut it into smaller pieces.
Yes. Right.
So if you know where it goes, you start at the beginning, you go to the middle. If you don't know where the middle is, you're going to spend a lot of time looking. Right?
I've done
Daisy
that.
chain order.
I've done that too. When people, I always tell them when I used to teach a class, you do your as-built, you print it out, and one of the things you write in there is where the MNet goes, just the order and address of how you ran the MNet. From here to here, because that way, because I've had contractors tell me, and I've been to job sites where the wires cut, the MNet wires cut from somebody, a plumber, electrician, or whatever, not landed, right? And now, how are you going to find it? I mean, to look at the units on the MNet and see which units are missing, that's one thing. Right. But if you don't know how the MNets run, you're going to be sitting there for a day trying to figure it out. But if you know which order it goes in, it makes it much easier. That's called working smarter, not harder. Yeah. Or like they say in Boston, working smarter, not harder.
Smarter. Wicked smart.
Yeah. So I'm just curious. You've been doing this a while.
Yeah.
Now.
11 years.
11 years. Are there any site visits or any situations that jump out at you? Something that you could share that we could all learn from? I know it's tough. Put you on the spot. But
I know.
You probably got so many
visits that stick out. Craziest stuff.
Yeah, or something that you could tell us, like, had they done this, or this is how I had to figure it out. I don't know. I'm just
okay. Well, a lot of again, it goes to the planning, right? They don't understand it, and it's a big problem in the industry. I don't know how it is on the East Coast, but guys that come through my training class, I haven't had a single tech this year can explain the refrigeration cycle.
Oh, that's bad.
None of them go to tech school anymore. Because we're so shorthanded in the industry, they get hired and they hope to teach them on the job, right? But they don't have the fundamental understanding of how things work. So it makes it harder for them to absorb a lot of information when they don't have that. But for instance, crazy one, I have this one job where they looked at the port address in the indoor unit and it started with a 0. Well, there's no port on the BC labeled 0.
Correct.
So they assumed wrongly that, port 1 must be 0 and port 2 would be 1. So the entire job got the port addressing one number wrong.
Off by one number every
Off by
unit.
one number.
Yeah, because 0 is actually port 16.
It is.
Yeah.
We know that.
Yeah, we know that. Yeah.
They didn't know that.
Yeah. So I want to go back to what you said. So a lot of folks we have a huge problem. I mentioned this yesterday when I was on the stage with the group. There's a problem in all the trades. And I already said we don't have enough people coming into it. In fact, in the next 5 years, we're supposed to, according to the Bureau of Statistics and Labor, or Labor and Statistics, whatever it's called, we're going to lose 40% of our workforce in the HVAC industry in the next 5 years. That's huge.
We lost that much due to COVID.
Right. And I'm just wondering where the workforce went. But here's the thing, and I've mentioned this before, and I'm begging you, if you're a contractor out there, if you're a business owner, if you're a service manager, an install manager, get involved with a local tech school. They're always looking for people to be in their program advisory committees, right? Professionals. If you show up with a bunch of contractors and you say, hey, we'd like to help you out. We'd like to be a guest speaker for your students. Tell them what they need to know. Tell these schools what they need to teach to these kids. And the refrigerant cycle is an important one. You cannot know if something is not working properly if you don't know how it's supposed to work. How'd you like to go to a doctor who doesn't know, takes your blood pressure, but doesn't know what it should be? Right? Takes your pulse. What's a good pulse? I don't know, but you got one. It's not to, I know it's making light of it, but it's true. You have to know. And electrical and refrigerant are the two most important things. And I've mentioned one of my former students, Jim McQuiggan, was a night student when I first started teaching at the trade school. He was my first graduate. And I'd go over the refrigerant cycle every single day of class. It starts off at the compressor, comes out to high temperature, high pressure, superheated vapor. I'd go through the whole cycle until they knew it. So when he graduated, they put him he was on the maintenance. He worked for a major hospital in Boston. And Boston's full of these big hospitals. And he worked on the maintenance staff. They moved him to the HVAC. A year later, they gave him a $5 an hour raise. He went across the street that afternoon to another hospital, and they interviewed him and they go, what do you know about the refrigerant cycle? And he spouted off what he's been learning for a year and a half. And the guy said, well, you know that better than most of the guys that work here. And he hired him for $5 more than he just got bumped up to. So in one day, he got a $10 an hour raise because he knew the refrigerant cycle. And I know I digress here, but it takes the whole industry to help out the future generations of our industry. So please get out there and help these schools.
And anyway, we work in the hardest industry because we're not just one thing, right? If you're an electrician, you're an electrician. You're only doing electricity. But if you're in the HVAC industry, dude, you got to be a plumber. You got to be a sheet metal guy. You have to understand air delivery and distribution. Yeah. You have to be a refrigeration guy, right?
You're going to be,
and you have to be an electronic technician. Now you have to be an IT person because you have to use a computer every day.
Yeah.
There's so many things you have to learn in this industry. It's the hardest one to master, but it's the most rewarding one to master. Because if you can master this, dude, you can master anything.
Right. And I've said this before too. I go, look, there's nothing wrong with being a plumber and electrician. They're honorable trades. But you learn the plumbing trade, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to wire your whole house.
No.
You learn the electrical trade, that's great. You're not going to be able to plumb your whole house. And I can tell you, I could probably, speaking for thousands and hundreds of thousands of HVAC guys out there, because of the skills you learn in HVAC, yes, if legally allowed, I just want to stimulate that, you could do all the plumbing in your house and you could do all the electrical in your house and have the knowledge to do it. And you're going to pick up some carpentry too. You cannot install ductwork and equipment in attics and in basements, and you cannot do without learning a little bit of carpentry. And I used to think, look, if I can do this, anybody can, because when I was in high school, I didn't think I had a mechanical aptitude. I didn't know the difference between a pair of pliers and a screwdriver, right? But if I can do this, anybody can. Because of the skills I've learned in this trade, I have wired my entire house. I have done all of the plumbing. I've fixed every single appliance in my house. I even built my own deck, and I built a chicken coop without any training on that, just because of the skills. Because once you pick up this mechanical ability, right, there's nothing you can't do. Especially now in the age of YouTube, right? I always ask us how many of you have fixed something you've never fixed before just by watching a YouTube video? But you need that foundation. Look, my brother-in-law, is not mechanically inclined at all. He should not be watching a YouTube video on anything that involves tools. But you get that ability. And I know I'm digressing here, but again, just get involved with the local schools because the industry needs to help itself, and we need to get involved with this. Anyway, I'm sorry, I digress here.
You've heard the old saying, "Jack of all trades, master of none."
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's not the whole saying. Do you know what the rest of it is?
No.
Jack of all trades, master of none, always preferred to a master of one.
Ah, that's a good one.
Yeah, nobody tells you that part.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I tell them, I'm a jack of all trades and I'm a master of some. Because it's more, I do this, I rebuild my house,
Right.
It's, I do everything.
I like that. I got to write that. We got to write that. That's going to be our new motto.
Well, it's recorded, so
All right.
it's
Okay.
recorded.
Good. Yeah, I'll never
Posterity.
listen. Yeah. So anyway, what else you got, Rick? That one there, but by planning and planning it out was an important thing. That is
the key to success. That's the key to having profit at the end of the job. I can't tell you how many contractors at the end of the job spend so much time chasing their tail because they didn't mark anything down. They didn't keep any records of anything they did. And one of the big ones is at least make a map or a list of the wiring goes from outdoor unit to the BC to unit 4 to unit 9 to.
Yes.
I had a contract. You'd never believe this one. It's a crazy one.
Don't mention names.
I go to do a startup, and I'm thinking, okay, it's a small job. It's like one outdoor unit, and it's got like 21 indoor units and 5 Losnays. And I'm going to be there a day, and I'm going to drive back home. It was a 4-hour drive to get there on the other side of the mountains. And I get there, and you know how the limit is on MNet wire? 654 feet. How do you exceed that in a 200-foot long building?
Easy. You leave all kinds of loops.
You follow the CAD layout exactly. So the wire went from the outdoor unit to the BC to address 1, to address 2, to address 3. And even though they were on opposite ends of the building, the wire kept jumping across the building and then hit all the 5 Losnays last because they were last on the CAD drawing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's not cool. Shortest distance between 2 points.
That's
is
the key.
the way
Exactly.
to run it.
Well, I talk about this in class all the time 'cause I don't want them to not understand the MNet wiring. There's no order to the MNet wiring. And a lot of contractors think, well, doesn't it have to start with 1? And doesn't 1 have to go to 2?
No.
And doesn't it have to start with the branch controller? No. It doesn't, right? So
Like
shortest
branch controller could be
distance.
last.
Yeah, the shortest distance between 2 points, whatever they are, that's how you're going to run the MNet wire. You bring it from the outside to the closest indoor unit, whether that's the BC controller in the unit, and then the next closest and the next closest, and so on. And then you write down, to Rick's point, you write down the order in which you ran that wire. I tell them to put it right on the plan, to leave in the mechanical room, the as-built.
Yeah.
Write down the order in which you ran that wire, because if there's a short in that wire, because contractors or people are going to come in afterwards. Maybe it didn't land properly. The wires came off.
Right.
Somebody could have cut it. Somebody could have shorted it. A screw could have gone through it. So if you write that down, it'll be so much easier to diagnose and fix that and find where it is.
Yeah, we're doing so that reminds me of what we're doing right now in Boston. We're installing the EcoDan, and I put together a blueprint, so to speak, of the piping. And I gave it to the gentleman, and he says, "You want it exactly like this?" And I'm like, "Well, no. It can't be exactly like this drawing, but I'm going to leave it up to you to make sure that it looks neat. And however you got to get from here to there, that's up to you. This is just a reference, all right?" But he's like, "Oh, okay, good." So,
Yeah. You remind me, we talked about this yesterday, but when we installed the HVRF in Atlanta in the warehouse, we installed it just to run. It wasn't us. It was some other folks did it. Contractor did it. And the water pipes connecting them, they weren't exactly level, and some of them weren't plumb. They were crooked.
We rushed to install
it was rushed, but it wasn't. But
it's not a showpiece.
It wasn't a showpiece. It wasn't a training piece. And then somebody contracted this little model creator guy to make a little model of it and we put in the office. And me and Steve were laughing because the guy put the model exactly like what he saw. So the pipes were not plumb. They weren't level. I was like, okay.
Yeah, pipes going from tank to tank were crooked in the back, and they were also crooked on the model.
He said, make a model of this. He did. The guy did what he was told to do, but it was funny. But anyway, we digress again.
I know we will, but that's okay.
Yeah, but no, I thought you were going to say, because I've seen this where they exceeded the maximum length of the MNet. because at every place they connected the Mnet, they rolled up the wire and left like about 10 or 15 extra feet.
Yeah.
You know, and that adds up quick. So you want to leave a service loop, but I'm talking about 6-7 inches service loop. You don't want to. A foot is good, even better. You know, because you will at some point that wire gets connected, disconnected, the ends get frayed, and you've got to be able to strip that back and re-land it. So,
yeah, it's just little things. The little things add up.
Yeah, and it saves you a lot of time later if you plan and do this. So save your time on the front end, spend time planning, and it's going to save you 10 times that on the back end when you're going to try to, because you need the as built and work smart. How many times you want to be up and down and up and down?
One time. In a lean world. One time.
Absolutely. I love that.
The most efficient way to do work is to touch it once.
Yes. Yeah. And also attend the training. You're providing training to these guys, attend that training. The first I think the second site visit I did working for Mitsubishi, the first one I went up with Jerry Flynn to Duluth, Minnesota, and I've talked about that before. My second one, I actually had the pleasure and the privilege of going with Bubba. I flew into Savannah. Bubba lives near Savannah or in Savannah. And I flew there, and he was supposed to pick me up, and we're going to someplace in South Carolina. And I called him up. He was supposed to pick me up at 7. I flew in the night before. I remember this because I had Patriots tickets that Sunday to go to the Patriots game, and I had to give them up to fly Sunday night so Bubba could pick me up Monday morning at this hotel. And he said, I'll be there at 7. It's 7:30. I go, hey, you still coming? He goes, oh, yeah, I'll be right there. He forgot. He was already halfway into the South Carolina, and he came and got me. Anyway, we drove, I think, 2.5 hours. I forget the town in South Carolina, but it was a remote town. And we show up, and there's 2 units twinned together, different generations. So
that's how.
So training would have fixed that. And they're running the Mnet wire, and it was thermostat wire, 18.2 thermostat wire.
Only 2? I've seen 18.8.
Yeah. So they just finished running.
House it was in?
Whose house it was in?
Jeff Bezos.
Jeff Bezos.
The 18.8 thermostat wire.
Well, he can afford it.
Well, I didn't know it was his house at the time, but I told the contractor, I said,
Got extra wires now.
I don't know who owns this house, but it looks like he can afford Johnny Cochran. I would fix that.
Yeah, that's probably true. I was with the DSG in Mexico, in Cabo, and the house belonged to one of the guys from Kiss, but I forget which one. I don't think it was Gene Simmons. It's one of the other guys. I know the drummer's dead, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's been talk that he died and then he came back to life.
I don't know. Maybe it was Peter. Maybe it was. I don't know. I'm not a big Kiss fan. Never been.
Ace Frehley, maybe.
Maybe it was. I think that sounds right. Maybe it was. But anyway, we digress again.
That's okay.
But my whole point was, if you go to this training, you'll know how to do it and how to prepare. Because if you don't stand a chance, you can't just take a city multi-system and show up and slap it together. You're going to fail. And to your point, the profit,
you can,
but you'll
fail. And it keeps me busy.
But look at callbacks. Callbacks cost money.
Yes,
and whatever profit you made on this job, having one callback is going to cut into that profit, if not eliminate it totally. And when I was teaching, doing what Bren and Juan and Gary and the guys are doing, I used to tell the contractors, I said, I can guarantee you that if you follow the instructions I'm going to give, if you do things the way I tell you to do them, you will not have a callback because of your workmanship, ever. Right? And that's the thing. It's about following the right procedures and doing things the right way.
And if you can't go to training, RTFM.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't do.
Yeah, RTFM. Mike Stanley's here. Mike Stanley has been a DSG for 22 years. He's one of the original 6. He's still with us. And I was talking to him yesterday. There was an email going back and forth. Like, I must have got copied. It wasn't emailing me, but I must have got copied on about 15 emails between him and one of our sales guys. And finally at the end, I go, Mike, what else do you need on this? And he's like, and he was talking to me yesterday. He goes, are you all set with that? I'm like, yeah. Once I read the RTFM, I was fine. He didn't read the email. He didn't read the email really clearly. And he goes, all I had to do was RTFM, and I'm fine. So we all, but it's important. Read it carefully.
Yes,
and ask questions. Right? We've got, if you had a contractor who was getting ready to do a job, it's his first job. He's going to call you up, but you're not going to help him, right?
We just had a very successful one that we did. This was the 6th largest city multi-job we've ever had. We had 380 indoor units.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big hotel. And we walked the job in the beginning. As he was hanging the indoor units, I pointed out the things that are going to save him labor if you do it this way. We looked at the outdoor units as, you can't put them like that. You have to fully support that rail on both front and back. You can't put those cross braces going front to back. They have to go down the front, laterally with that rail. So we got all the things that he would have made mistakes on, and I would ask them to redo, the 500 millimeters of straight pipe after the twinning kit. Yeah. That's big. I'm a Nazi on that one. I will make you redo it.
Yes.
So
it's for a reason.
Yeah. That job was done in 3 days.
That's amazing.
As big as that was, 3 days, clean.
Doing
Everything
it right, planning.
was beautiful.
Just spending that time on the front planning. That's amazing. This was very good because I don't think we've ever discussed anything like this before. The planning stage of a job is huge, and it's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save you labor. It's going to save you headaches and callbacks.
Another part of my lean background is there's something that we call standard work.
Correct.
Everybody does it the same way. If you learn how to do it right, and everybody
have you ever worked for Metis before? You'd be great on Sabrina's team.
Yeah, because we got a continuous improvement team. It's all about standard of work. It's about lean. We're all.
I've heard you mention lean a few times, so it's.
Well, if you ever take the tour of the Boeing factory where they build, the planes,
right?
There's a guy been working on and he's got 4 things he does. He's got in charge of this, and he puts this together with that, and boom, and he moves it on down the line, right? And he's been doing it for 10 years. But you know what's on the wall right behind him? A pictorial of how to do his job.
Right.
There's no mistakes. He can't make a mistake because he has a reference to it.
Well, there's hundreds of lives at stake, potentially, right? If he does it wrong.
Right. I want to go home Friday.
So standard work, one of the exercises we did in school is and the instructor had us draw a pig. It's called the standard pig test. So everybody in the class, and we had about maybe 20 people taking this certification, which was 3 months long. And so we all drew a pig. And then she said, okay, let's stick them all up on the board.
They're all different.
We had 20 different pigs.
Yeah.
So then she gave us some instructions. Let's draw the pig again using these instructions. Well, the pigs got closer, but they were still different. So the third test, we had explicit instructions, descriptions, how far to draw this line. And every pig looked exactly the same, right? Standard work. So if you get the training and you learn how to do this, you plan it first, you work the plan, and everybody does it the same way. Jobs are like boom, boom. I've got one contractor, Paul, the best city multi guys. Now, 2 of them has since retired in the last couple of years, but between these 3 guys, every city multi job was in, out startups, clean, all the addressing perfect, blah, blah, blah. You know what? None of those 3 guys ever went through city multi training.
Wow.
They had a work ethic, and they knew how to plan the job.
That's amazing.
And they probably read the manual quite a few times.
They couldn't read, yes, they understood what was needed, but none of them had ever gotten city multi certified until they'd done 10 city multi jobs. Then one of them came and got certified.
They could probably teach the thing.
They could.
Yeah.
In fact, one of them did teach at the Union Hall.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. That's great. I love to hear stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not the part about they didn't go to training, but the part about how they did things right.
Right. And you know what else is I see that's also kind of, I think, is an improvement is we're getting more females into our industry.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that too. Because getting back to the workforce development, we're not going to fix our issue with half the population.
No.
We need all of the population to fix this issue. And I think I can say this. We're at the point now where we shouldn't be identifying an HVAC tech as a female it's an HVAC tech, period. Yeah. I don't care what your gender is, you're an HVAC tech. I think we're at that point, and
the big plus to that is they never forget what they learned, right? They've been my best students.
Well, not to be sexist, my wife never forgets anything I've done wrong.
Every city multi-class I do, I tell every class, I said, okay, this is the record for getting this class done is 3:19 in the afternoon, graduating and leaving the class. And I said, that class that set that record had 5 women in it, right? And it's like when they hear something, they never forget it, and they take it to heart. And when they go out and do the actual hands-on part, they remember that. But a lot of guys will develop, and I tell them, you're going to do this. You're going to get tunnel vision. Everything I've told you in 3 days, when you actually face the unit, you're going to forget what I said. They don't.
No, they don't. And it's not only that. This has actually been, they've done studies on this, and I might have mentioned this before. I don't know. But they had a study about multitasking, and they gave a bunch of men these tasks. Do these these 10 things or whatever, these tasks in 15 minutes. And it was everyday tasks like make a phone call, write a note, start a load of laundry, do whatever, right? Iron these pants, right? And they gave the same tasks to a bunch of women. And I think maybe like one guy may have completed the tasks and like 90% of the women completed the tasks because the guy's going to go make a phone call. He's sitting there making a phone call. Then if he's going to microwave something for a minute and a half, he's going to sit there and wait for the minute and a half. Where the woman came along because they can multitask and they can think on different levels.
Yes.
I can think of one thing at a time. My wife thinks about everything at the same time.
Yeah.
But the women would go in here and they'd make a phone call, put something in the microwave, go start the laundry, fold this, and they would do 5 different things at once.
It comes back to planning, Paul.
Yes, it comes back to being lean and being lean. Yes.
Being efficient, not wasting time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Rick, I thank you. I think this is very
It's excellent. And Rick, if you can leave us with something, we have a lot of listeners and running around in service vans, install technicians, service technicians. Yeah. What's some advice you can give them?
The big one?
Yes.
Never stop learning.
That's a good one.
That is not a task you will ever finish in your lifetime.
Good. That's a good one.
And the more time you spend towards it, the faster you're going to progress in your life and in your industry.
That's an excellent one. That's a good one for everybody.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Exactly.
Look at the experience. Look at the experience in this room. I don't know how many DSGs we have in here, but there's thousands of years of experience in here. There's guys that've been here in the industry longer than I have, longer than you have, and they're still here learning.
And it's one of our values. It's at Metis.
Learn continuously.
Learn continuously.
Yeah.
I started carrying instruments for Dr. Willis Carrier. So when did you start?
My license number is 4. No. I went to the same. I went to the same HVAC school as Noah.
They didn't have such a thing. License. What is that?
Yeah. Do they require licenses in Washington State?
Dude, don't even get me started.
No, it's overregulated.
They didn't in Louisiana. Only the owner of the company needed to have a license.
Wow.
But in Washington, oh my God.
That's part of the problem. One of the problems I see with workforce development, and I probably shouldn't mention this, but there's 2 problems. Across the country, first of all, there's not even a standard code we all use. Every state adopts a different building code, electrical code, plumbing code, and that's crazy. It should be the same code across the states. But all the schools and what you're required to teach in different states is different. There's no standard curriculum, and there should be for HVAC for all trades. Right. It should be a standard curriculum. Right? In Massachusetts, like Steve lives in an area where if he was a contractor in the field, he might be able to work in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. There is you might be able to work in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Massachusetts. You need a separate license for each state. In Massachusetts, I need a sheet metal license and I need a refrigerant license, a low voltage license, a gas fitter license. If I'm in a big company and I'm going to do sheet metal, I'm doing sheet metal all day. But if I'm in a smaller company, I could be doing sheet metal on Monday. I could be changing out a furnace on Tuesday. I could be doing some, AC work on Wednesday. But I need a sheet metal license. I need a refrigerant license, and I can only pursue one at a time. That's nuts. That's nuts. And you got states that don't have licenses. There should be a standard curriculum for the schools to teach, and there should be a standard license. In Canada, they do it right. If I get a refrigerant license in Ontario, well, it's going to work in Saskatchewan. It's going to work in British Columbia. It's transferable, and that's the way it should be. And you can pursue one at a time. So I'm getting off my high horse now because that just struck a nerve. But
no, it restricts people's progress in time because it takes so long to get to that point where they certify you, right? And you have so many hours. And I'd been in the industry when I moved to Washington already, 29 years, but none of that counted.
No.
None of that counted. I was an 01 electrician, what we call in Washington. If you're an 01 electrician, you're doing wiring, conduit, and all that. If you're an HVAC guy, you're actually classified as an electrician with your license, but it's a low volt license. And you're allowed to run, this is crazy, 1 stick of conduit 10 feet with no turns in it. That was simply to get your thermostat wire above the T-bar ceiling. That's it. All they allow you to do.
We're going to leave the turns to the experts.
Yeah.
Yes,
you can't bend pipe. Yeah.
No, don't do that. Don't touch that.
Well, technically in Massachusetts, if you're an HVAC guy and you're in a home installing, you technically need an electrician to install the thermostat, right? If you have your refrigerant license. Yeah. Right now, the refrigerant license does cover if you change out a gas valve, it covers that.
Yeah,
but and you can wire anything from the disconnect out. But even for the thermostat,
But like you said, Paul, it changes state to state.
it's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful. Anyway, when I don't want to end this on a note.
A good note. We'll go back to food, right?
Food, yeah.
Food.
Tell me more about this deep fried hoagie, because I just what's a po' boy? That's right. I'm sorry, hoagie hero
Okay.
sub. What's the place again? Jacquemo's.
Jacquemo's.
How do you spell that?
Jacques.
Amo.
Emos.
Okay.
IMOS.
Oh, okay.
If you want, out in the street in front is this little Datsun pickup truck, and they put a table in the bed, and it's painted psychedelic colors.
Wow. And this is in New Orleans?
This is in New Orleans.
Where is it?
And you can eat dinner at a table for two in the bed of that truck.
Is it in the
out
French Quarter?
Street. No,
No,
it's
where is it?
outside the city. It's on Oak Street in the Carrollton district.
Okay. I think I know where that is. I remember that. We'll have to go there.
I always get these two confused. What's the difference between gumbo and jambalaya?
Well, gumbo is like a soup.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a stew.
And jambalaya is like rice dish, like
Rice.
a paella
Yeah.
type of thing.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so I was in a restaurant in New Orleans many years ago. Well, when I was in the National Guard, again during the first Gulf War, I went to Keesler Air Force Base for 6 months, and on the weekends I'd either go to Pensacola or New Orleans. But I was in this place having a bowl of gumbo, and it was so good and so good. And I get to the bottom, and not to gross people out here, but I see this hair at the bottom of the gumbo, and I was at the bar, and I go to the bartender, look at that. He goes, oh, I'm sorry, man, that's awful. And so he brings me out another bowl. So what do you think I'm going to do? I ate it. Right. It was good. I'm sorry.
Got to see if there's a hair at the bottom.
It's a free bowl of
Why do you
gumbo.
think it tastes so good?
It was delicious. And the funny thing is, my friends came out to visit me, Matt and Bill, and they go into this bar, and I go, 3 buds, please. And the bartender comes up, and she gives me 9 beers. I go, what are these? She goes, those are your beers. I go, I just wanted 3. He goes, the drinks are 3 for 1. I go, but I just wanted 3. She goes, then you should have ordered 1. So then we're getting ready to leave, and we're used to the Massachusetts laws, right? And we couldn't finish one. We wanted to go, and I go to the girl at the door. I go, we can't take these outside. She goes, no, of course not. Take this. And she put a big plastic cup, and she goes, pour it in here, and you can walk around with it. It's
As long as
crazy.
it has a lid on it.
Yeah, no, back then it didn't even need a lid.
Like daiquiri shop drive-through 24 hours a day.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's a nice town, but it's a little bit crazy, I got to tell you.
So if you get a po' boy, get a muffalata.
Muffalata.
Yeah.
I've heard that name, but I don't remember what it is.
It's an Italian sandwich made on special bread that's got a lot of olive salad on it. Oh my God. Anytime I go, I got to get a muffalata. I got to get fried shrimp. I got to get a soft shell crab.
Oh, man.
Okay. It's on my hit list anytime I go back.
And all we did was get beignets.
Yes. Got to get beignets.
So you got to go to the Cafe Du Monde. You got to go to the Cafe Du Monde. That place is
or
great.
a morning call.
Yeah.
Either one.
Anyway, Rick, thank you so much for
thank you,
joining
Paul.
us.
Thank you, Rick.
It was a pleasure.
That was awesome.
And we'll see everybody on the next one. Take care,
We'll
folks.
see ya.
Bye.